In this video, I'll show you how to use Positron to carry out data analysis using Python with a Jupyter Notebook. Now, if you haven't already downloaded and installed Positron, have a look at my accompanying video on using Positron with R. In the first section of that, I show you where you can find the installation packages for your operating system, and I also give a brief overview of the interface. So in order to start a project, you need to create a new folder. Now, if you can see the welcome screen here, then you can click on New Folder. Otherwise, go to File and click New Folder from Template. Now, there are two ways you can do analysis with Python in Positron. You can use a Jupyter Notebook, which is what I'll look at, or you can use a straightforward Python project, and the best way to do that is by creating what's called a Quarto document. Now, I won't look at that here because there's an excellent video produced by Posit, the company that produces Positron, on their YouTube site, which is this one here. It's called Your First Python Project in Positron. If you search for that, you should find it. It's under in the Posit PBC channel. A really excellent video which shows you how to use Quarto with Python. I'm going to concentrate here on using a Jupyter Notebook. So we need to select that, obviously, and click Next. Now, you need to give a name to the folder in which your project will be stored. So I'm just going to call it, let's see, Python project. Obviously, you'd give it a more appropriate name relevant to your particular analysis. Where you're going to store this folder, by default, it offers your home directory. I'm going to put it under my subfolder, my Documents directory, Documents folder. I'm not going to use Git, so I won't initialize that. If you want to use Git, you know how to use it. Just click that. Click Next. You're then asked how would you like to set up your Python environment. Python projects have their own what's called virtual environment, which means that it's a self-contained folder, in effect, the folder that you've just created, in which you install the relevant Python packages that you need for that particular analysis. So leave it on Create New Virtual Environment. You see that is recommended. Select the way to create the new virtual environment. I always use the default venv. There are a couple of others, Conda and UV, but I think you have to install those in order to use those. I stick with venv. Choose the version of the Python interpreter. You may have more than one. I've got a couple here. This one, 3.96, is the one that was installed by macOS as default, but I've got a more up-to-date one. Of course, you could install up-to-date versions of Python from the python.org website. So I'm going to choose that one and click Create. My folder has now been created, and I need to open it either in the current window, but more typically you put it in a new window, because each project, of course, will be in its own separate window. And of course, you can't have more than one project, hence more than one window opened in Positron. So let's click New Window. And after a few seconds, it creates the environment, sets everything up, ready to go. So here, under the Explorer, notice you can, of course, each of these little icons here opens up a relevant sidebar here. Here, the only one you probably need is the Explorer, which will show the contents of the folder you've just created. And notice if you don't want to see it because you don't need any more, you want more space, just click it. Obviously nothing in there at the moment apart from the virtual environment, which contains the standard Python installation. But what we'll need to put in here, of course, is a data file or files from which we're going to get our data. And once you save your code files here's by default, of course, it just calls it untitled. We can then save it. that will appear in here as well. So the first thing I'll do is, in fact, install the packages that we're going to use. That's the first thing you need to do, install the Python packages. Now you do that here in the terminal by using pip, the standard Python installation package, or package installer I should say. So I'm going to type pip, pip3 is the latest, I'll put that, install. Notice the key code completion that you get. So the three standard packages we almost invariably need are NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib if we want charts. I'll just install these two just to begin with. So away it goes and finds those and downloads them, installs them. That's done. Now we can install Matplotlib. I could have put Matplotlib on here as well. Done it all in one go, but I'll do it separately. So you can see how you put this command in, pip3 or just pip install and the name of the package. There we are. So that's all installed, ready to go. Now I don't need this panel anymore, so I'm going to close it, hide it. If you do want to see it again, you can always go to View, Appearance, and choose Panel. Sometimes it will appear anyway when it needs to display some output. So what I need now, of course, is to import these packages. So I'll import them using the standard aliases. So I can now run these lines of code by either clicking here or pressing Control Enter. I think Shift Enter also works. That's going to import them. Takes a few seconds. How many seconds? 6.9, fairly quick. Okay, I think it's a good idea now to save this Jupyter Notebook file here in your project folder. So just click the Save icon. Give it a name. You might not see the extension IP, Y, and B if you're not set up for extensions to show, which I am. But if it does show, don't overwrite it, of course. So I'll just call this my project. Obviously, you'd choose something appropriate to your particular project. Save. Okay, so one more thing to do before we start doing the analysis. I need my data file in my folder. So I'm just going to add a simple data file that I've used before. You can drag and drop or copy and paste. So that's in there. Notice that, excuse me, it has opened up a little subpanel here with a spreadsheet view of the data. If that didn't appear, or in future you wanted to look at the file, you could simply click on it. So if I just remove that and click on it, you'll see it brings it up again. Here you can find out various information about your data file. You can reorder the data by various columns and so on. It's fairly self-explanatory. So if you want to have a look at that. Okay, so let's just complete this little example here by importing the data, getting the data into a data file, and then doing a little bit of analysis and drawing a chart just to see that it works in the standard way. So I'm going to add a new code file. Remember, in a Jupyter Notebook, you can have cells that either contain code or markdown, and then of course you can export it as a completed document later. We'll look at that. So let's get our data in here to a data file from the a data frame rather. So it's the read, let's go CSV. The advantage, of course, of having your data file within your project folder is you don't need to put the full path to the file. You can simply put the name of it. Don't forget the inverted commas, otherwise you get an error. Let's run that. This time I'll press Control-Enter. There we go, and that's imported it. It's over here now in my variables panel. You can see some information about it. You can actually see that also here in a separate tab just by clicking this icon here, which looks like a, it says View Data Table. So it's imported that data. It's created a couple of string variables for this categorical data and an integer, 64-bit integer for the numeric variable. Okay, so we're ready to do our analysis now. So I'll just do a couple of examples just to show. Let me first of all, I'll create a simple frequency distribution of, let's say, the gender. Notice there's 3 variables here, so I'll do one of site. Yeah, that will do. Of course, I've created several videos here. There are several videos here on my site which go into detail on how to do analysis, and both of detailed analysis of both cross-section data and time series data using Python in a Jupyter Notebook. So if you want to know how to do that, consult those. So let's create a simple frequency of the site variable. So for that we use the value counts function. For some reason I'm not getting the code completion which I thought I would be getting here. And then we'll have a look at that. There, it's happening now, but it didn't occur when I was putting the function in. I'm not quite sure why. Anyway, let's run those. And there is my little frequency. Notice it puts it over here as well. And finally, let's just run, create a little plot of this data. Like that, a simple bar chart. And there we have it. Of course, obviously, you can do a lot more with this, tidy it up. Again, look at my videos that show you how to add titles and axis labels and tidy things up and so on. I can do it, make it a lot more interesting than that. So as you can see, you can easily use Positron to do Python analysis in the Jupyter Notebook. Just as you can with any other IDE. In the videos I created before, which were done several months ago, before Positron became available, I used a free package called PyCharm. But Positron is nice because with it you can do analysis both using R and Python. So you can just use a single application. If you prefer, of course, to use RStudio for R, then by all means carry on with that. But if you want to use Positron, it's very easy. As you can see, I'll just show finally how can we get this Jupyter Notebook out. Well, if you click here, you see there's an export option which shows that you can export it as HTML or as a PDF. Now, to export it directly as PDF, you do need to have LaTeX installed. If you want to avoid that, the best, easiest way to do it is to export it as HTML, then simply open that in a browser, like Safari here on the Mac, and then use the export to PDF option in the browser. That should work fine. It avoids needing to install LaTeX or the text or tech package, as it's called. You can also export it as a simple script with all the code in. In fact, I found here the best way to export it as HTML is actually to go here and just choose Preview, and that actually does export it and gives a preview of it here in the Viewer panel. So there it is. You can see, of course, with the Jupyter Notebook, you get the code and the results. What's that little like? Oh, you can copy this to the clipboard if you just want to copy the results here. I believe there are ways in which you can export a Jupyter Notebook excluding the code in it. Perhaps you just want the results, but that's something you could investigate if you want to do that. So you'll find that in your folder now, if I go to this folder for this that's been created, if I can find it, which one was it? Python project, of course. There is the HTML file that's created, and with the accompanying files in this subdirectory here. There, of course, is the Jupyter Notebook. So if I open this in Safari, like that, you can see it's there. And you could then simply go to File, Export as PDF, and then you'd have a PDF of this document as well. So as you can see, very easy to use Positron to carry out Python analysis with in the Jupyter Notebook manner. As I say, if you do want to do it using Quarto slightly differently, then look at that video that Posit have produced.